Welcome to the February 16th, 2022 meeting of the Conservation Commission, Berlin Conservation Commission. In accordance with Governor Baker's March 2020 order superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus, this meeting will be held remotely via the Zoom platform. All participants should be aware that anything you say, share, or show on camera during this meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the Town of Berlin YouTube channel. This virtual location was listed on the agenda along with all necessary links for public attendance. Audience members who wish to participate should use Zoom's raise hand function, and you will be called upon by the chair when appropriate. Please remember to mute your microphone when not speaking and speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. Each vote taken during this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. I will now confirm that all members of the Conservation Commission are present and can hear me before opening the meeting. Louise. Oh, you're muted.
Here.
Holly.
Here.
AJ.
Here.
Robin.
Here.
Carolyn. Here. Open the meeting at 7:09. All right. Everybody get a chance to look over the minutes? Any comments? If not, I will take a motion to accept the minutes from the February 2nd meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the February 2nd meeting.
Second.
That was Robin.
Okay.
And I will take a roll call vote. Robin?
Aye.
AJ?
Aye.
Holly?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Carolyn? Aye. All right. Robin, do we have a treasurer's report?
No, and honestly, I just thought before the meeting, I haven't been over to see if there were any forms. Have you seen anything, Maddie, from the accountant?
Nope, it's been pretty empty in the mailbox. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know she's pretty busy this month taking over for Margaret, so.
Okay. So it's the same as November 31st of 2021, right?
Yep. And let's take a look at the agenda, see what else we got. So for wetlands, Walter did send a little note saying that he was going to be late, but if we talked about certain agenda items, he had some input. So he said that he was recently up at Maplewood Farm and checked it out, that they are continuing to import soil. Everything looks good. And I also received an email of a question that was sent to the select board's office that some of the neighbors are, starting to, certainly explainably, getting upset about all the trucks. But we have no way of controlling the truck traffic, and hopefully the faster they bring soil in, the faster the project will get done.
Yeah, I followed a truck up Barnes Road, turned off to Ball Hill Road, and by the time I got into my driveway, which is less than a quarter of a mile from Ball Hill Road, there was a truck going down the hill.
Wow, so they're pretty much right after one after the other.
It looked like it.
Yeah, well, like I said, maybe that will help get it done faster.
Mhm.
And let's do this. Highland Ridge. I mean, got our appointment at 7:30 with them. Dudley Road, nothing. Oh, before we forget, let's officially, unless somebody wants to take over the meeting on March 2nd, I would like a motion to cancel our March 2nd meeting.
So
I'd
moved.
like to make a motion to cancel. Oh, there you go. Louise, faster than that. Okay,
Holly, you want a second?
second, yes.
Any comments about that? Hearing none, I'll ask you to vote. Louise,
Aye.
Holly,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Carolyn, aye. Maddie, do you want to take care of canceling that on my town government, or do you want me to?
I can take care of that.
Okay, awesome. March 2nd. Linden Street parking lot, nothing. So then as far as land acquisition goes, so I have sent in a little write-up about to the select board, asking to be considered for some ARPA funds. ARPA, if you guys don't know, is the American Rescue Plan, I think is what that stands for. And the town has received some funds and they're asking for input on the best way to spread those funds around. So I am hoping that we'll be able to get some to go towards the what we're now calling the Lyman School property. And we're going to have 3 warrants, 3 articles on the warrant, one requesting CPA funds, one that we have to have on as a condition of the land grant, of allowing getting the town's permission to apply for the land grant. And the other one will be to ask for the rest of the funds. However, we wind up needing to satisfy that final number. It's going to be about $125,000 minus any ARPA funds that we get. So go ahead.
Yeah, for that, like out of free cash or?
It's probably where it's going to have to come from.
Okay.
Unless I meet with the finance committee next Wednesday night. Oh, Robin, I had asked you if you could come to that with me. True?
What day is it?
Next Wednesday.
I don't think so, but let me.
Okay.
What is the meeting?
FinCom.
Oh,
Yep. They asked us to come in.
If you did, I forgot, and I don't have it on my calendar, but I can do it that night. What
Okay.
time?
I'm gonna have to double check what time we're on their agenda, and I'll let you know.
Did you say it's in person?
Nope, I believe it's Zoom. Oh, you know what? I might have it. I might have it right here. (8:45) is our appointment.
Okay, I'll put it on my calendar.
Okay. That would be great.
I assume the link is just on the My Town Government site?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Okay.
And then Maddie, I think you were going to join us as well. But since you don't count towards a quorum, we're still good.
well, you need 4 people.
Yeah.
I can sit in if
so-
you wish.
If you'd like, you're more than welcome to.
I think I probably should. Thank you.
Okay. But I had a phone call with Tim Wheeler the other day, and he helped me kind of sort out the warrant article language. So I've got drafts of the warrant articles that we need. I'm just waiting to till after we meet with FinCom to see if what I think we're gonna do is what they would like us to do, or whatever. So that is where we stand on all of that. But I will definitely get those sent in before I go away, because they're due before I go away. Well, they're due while I'm gone, so. And then Louise,
Yes.
do you have anything about Earth Day you'd like to talk about?
Very quickly, yes, I talked to Lorenz today, and she said she wanted to really focus on just the cleanup part of it.
As
You know,
as opposed to,
as opposed to doing the fundraiser like with the nips and having a raffle for the people who took part in it or anything like that, you know.
okay,
Yeah, so AJ, I mentioned that you were interested in helping to organize. So maybe you and I can get together and talk about it, and we can get together with Lawrence and, you know, make some plans.
You bet.
You know, we still don't know what what April's going to be like. We could have another round, you know, so we thought we would just focus on the cleanup this time.
sure. Have you
The
guys?
22nd, Friday, the 22nd is actual Earth Day. Are we planning for the 23rd for the cleanup?
Yes, we always do it on a Saturday, right, the 23rd. We do let people, you know, pick up bags ahead of time, or just go out on their own and use their own bags. And in the past, the Highway Department and Hudson Disposal has picked up any bags that they see on the side of the road. So we can check, I'll check with them to make sure they'll be doing that again this year.
And do we have enough bags?
I think we need to get some more, but I think we have like almost a full box, but we probably should get one more.
Okay,
So I can do that.
great. Louise has a source.
Yeah, it was, I inherited from another member.
Yep.
Those are heavy duty plastic bags. I don't suppose there's a heavy duty biodegradable bag.
Well, there
I
are
don't
some
know.
people, actually, Bob Blair insists on using the leaf bags,
Oh, the paper ones?
the paper ones, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, we did look into biodegradable bags. And there's a couple of reasons why we didn't continue to pursue it. One is the yellow color, the bright yellow color adds kind of a safety element. People see the yellow bag on the side of the road moving around under someone's hand. And we get the yellow bags for free.
mhm.
And the biodegradable bags are not inexpensive. So
We use them at home for our trash, and they're wimpy too.
yeah. Well, that was the other thing. You know, you don't want someone to spend all their time picking up trash on the side of the road for the bag to break and have to pick it up again.
Right.
Yeah.
I think also the Highway Department knows if they see a yellow bag that it's one of ours, you know, whereas a paper bag, it could be somebody just leaving them on the side of the road,
Right.
you know.
So while I do like the idea in theory, these ones really do tend to work out better for us. All right, so the date though is going to be April 23rd.
April 23rd. We didn't talk about a time, but I think in the past we've started like around 9 o'clock, and we stop around 2 because we have to get all the trash down to the transfer station by 3 o'clock.
Right. All right. Well, we've got 8 minutes. And our appointment for 7:30 isn't here yet anyway.
I could make a comment on the parking lot on Linden Street. I did
Okay.
happen to talk to my neighbor Sue Therian, to let her know that we were still planning on making some changes. And, we would include her and let her know what we were going to do. And I happened to run into Fred with the highway department, and the highway department is very, very willing to help us out. He said, just let us know what you want us to do and we'll do it.
Right. Yeah, I think we'll have, I think it probably makes sense to have Sue, someone from highway, someone from conservation. I know Margaret was pretty involved in it last year.
Mhm. Right.
Probably someone from the police department, just kind of get anybody who can all on the same page, and then we will bring it to the commission to vote
Right.
once we've got something.
Yeah, I told them both that it should come to the commission, and, they both agreed that
Right.
that's the way it should be done.
Yep. Ms. Stone.
Hello, Ms. McDonald. Just a gentle reminder that anything on Linden Street that needs to happen, if there's any cost involved, it is a shared cost between conservation and highway. So whether it's materials, time, fill, things like that. So it's just not Fred and company coming up to fix it. There was the agreement that all that needs to be truly planned out and financed properly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well, it really shouldn't cost anything if we plan it correctly. But yeah, understood.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks. All right. And well, look who decided to show up. Okay.
I had
Better late.
coon in the barn incident.
Really?
Yeah, the dogs weren't happy.
I've got some good chili recipes.
Yeah. For raccoon.
I was gonna say. He's on my list, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Do we have to wait till 7:30 for Attorney Para?
I don't think so. It's not a posted
hearing, right?
Yeah, it's not a hearing. It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's not posted. Would you like to let him promote him, Robin?
Yeah, I just tried to. Oh, there he goes.
Okay.
Hello,
Good evening, Alex.
good evening. So I have kind of a weak internet connection here, so I'm going to leave the video off.
All right.
Here, also, I'm sitting in the dark because the only place I could get any internet is outdoors.
Oh, that's right. You're on vacation.
Yeah. So
Um,
In any event, thank you for taking me early. I appreciate that. In the interim, since the last meeting, we prepared, the condominium documents that we had talked about, and I forwarded those to you. One is the master deed for the condominium, and one is the declaration of trust. And I highlighted for you the provisions pertaining to the conservation restriction and trail easements. So under the master deed, which is the controlling document in terms of title for the condominium, we added provisions that made it mandatory for the recording of the CR and the trail easements once approved. It's not optional. We added, since I think there was some concern on the part of some of the commissioners that no unit owner would have the right to object to the imposition of the CR and trail easements. And in the description, we left it the entirety of the premises so that if for some reason the geographical location of anything changes, I mean, I don't anticipate this, but as a result of Commonwealth's review, that we're not limited to what was shown on the conservation restriction plan. And then on the exhibit B to the master deed, we listed the conservation restriction and trail easements as an encumbrance on the title. So nobody's going to be able to say when they purchase this, a unit that they didn't know, couldn't know, shouldn't have known. And they're not going to have, none of the unit owners are going to have any right to object, nor is the declarant, who is currently obviously the developer. And we've added the obligation to record on the trustees if for some, unforeseen reason, the developer is required to turn over the condominium to the unit owners before the Commonwealth does what it's supposed to do. And then we added in the declaration of trust, which is kind of the rules for the trustees and unit owners, a duty of the trustees to maintain, inspect, keep up the open space to comply with the CR and trail easements. So I think that's everything and more that we discussed in terms of the operative documents. To bring you up to date, the list that my paralegal forwarded to me yesterday, there are 11 units which the developer hopes to be able to close in March. Some of them are carryovers from an expected February date that really didn't materialize. Through the end of 2022, so far, including the 11 that I just mentioned, there are 27 units that have either been put under purchase and sale agreement or are under reservations with an expectation to close in 2022. These go through September, October, November timeframe. So I'm hoping that I've been able to satisfy the concerns of the commission and that you would be willing to release, you know, the 27 occupancy certificates over the course of the coming months, you know, to meet these closings while, you know, the Commonwealth does its thing.
So even though we know that the conservation restriction is being held up, they're still making promises with dates. They're still selling units with promises
Oh, yes.
with dates.
Yes. Well, they have a right to extend. Obviously, we don't want to do that to the customers. I mean, I think, you know, I've heard your frustrations over past history, but I really think we have done everything that, you know, you could possibly require to guarantee that you're going to get what you're entitled to, namely the conservation restriction and the trail easements. So, you know, can't sit here. I mean, it's not to the benefit of the town to sit here with a project that's sitting, you know, empty as we go forward. I don't think this is an unreasonable thing.
So first of all, for my fellow commission members, I apologize for not forwarding those documents sooner that Alex is talking about. I just sent them to everybody.
That was my bad. I'm sorry about that.
Between the two of us, one of us should have made sure it happened. So there's that. We do have an audience member who would like to speak.
Hi, my name is Joseph Stebbins. I'm a person who is under agreement for 5 Wheeler Hill Road at this Highland Bridge development. I have just this week found out about this trail easement and was horrified to find out that the easement is within 100 feet of the only private view that I had in my property, which I went under agreement back in June. I'm strongly requesting of the developer and of this commission that these trail easements be excluded from parcel C of the development. I think that's only fair.
Do you care to elaborate what's fair about it?
Well, the development is advertised as having scenic and private views. I'm one of, I think, 6 units that the current trail easement plan would eliminate that privacy part of what the community was advertised as. There was no mention of this when I was marketed the property, or when I was under purchase and sale, or when I was given a draft of the master deed. This is a very recent addition to the master deed. There was absolutely no mention of it until February 11th. I've sold my house. I was supposed to close on December 21st. I've been waiting through extensive delay and at personal expense, and then to have this put upon me, it's a hardship.
Well, I'm very sorry that that is the situation that you find yourself in. The developer has always had an agreement with the town that these trail easements would go through. The fact that they did not market that or inform you of that, unfortunately, does not involve our decisions. And I'm very sorry that that's happening to you. But this has been their agreement with the town for years.
The specific trail easements that are,
Absolutely.
okay, and the abutter that the easement falls against is okay with it? On the parcel C portion, the easement falls right against the property boundary of a neighbor.
Holly, is that the Wheeler land?
Or
Pardon?
Wheeler.
Right,
On parcel C, I don't recall which parcel.
I know,
that-
I'm trying to remember which one's
It's,
parcel C.
It's Ms. Powers and Duncan Baum.
In
Oh,
Duncan.
Yep,
They're aware,
they're aware. The trail actually goes over Duncan's land.
right?
I was out there I saw Duncan the other day out there when I
Yeah.
walked the trail after they did the markers.
Yeah,
I mean, I abut Duncan. We go way back. So Duncan, yes.
yes. So, you know, unfortunately, any issue that you have with the way the property was marketed doesn't involve us.
Okay,
And,
I appreciate the information. I think that I might have been hoodwinked, and I'll pursue it through direct negotiation with the developer.
Well, I think now, do you notice that when the trees come in, you might not see it. I'm not sure exactly where you're looking, but right now, obviously, everything is pretty visible. But when foliage and stuff comes in, it might not be as much of an issue.
Well, I did look at the property back when the trees were fully leafed out, and between the trail and my property, or behind the trail and my property, is a stone wall, and you can see the stone wall very, very plainly. So that the small amount of forest that's in there doesn't provide a visual buffer for me. Is it planned that this trail will be open to the general public or just residents
Yep.
of the development?
no, that it has been open to the public forever.
Yeah,
And the, you know, part of the agreement with moving forward with this was that it would remain so.
yeah. Okay, so some critical information was withheld, and I didn't get a good faith representation of the property when I was doing the purchase and sale, and I don't expect the Conservation Commission to resolve that. I appreciate your time, and I don't want to take any more of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the other issue that we have is the Sudbury Valley Trustees monitoring. So Maddie and well, mostly Maddie has been talking, but I have been working with Maddie to try to kind of resolve this. When Sudbury Valley Trustees was approached about monitoring the property, John Aney was the chair, and somehow John got the impression that Sudbury Valley Trustees was willing to, for a flat dollar amount, that they were willing to monitor the property in perpetuity. When we approached Sudbury Valley Trustees after our last meeting, they said that they don't do that, and that they have 5-year agreements, and that they would work with the town. So they would want us to pay them every 5 years. So that obviously is not what we thought we were going to get from them. Certainly not what we talked about with you, Alex. So I guess my first question is, oh, well, actually, my first question is, Maddie, were you able to get in touch with June today?
Yep, so June did send us a response on how we could set up an account and whatnot, and that's just in the conservation email.
Okay. Okay, so the easy answer is it's possible. So I guess what I would like to do is, Maddie, we still haven't gotten an answer from Kristen of what she would estimate a 30-year monitoring to be, have we?
Not yet.
Okay. So I guess, Alex, what I would like to propose is that instead of Sudbury Valley Trustees getting the money, that we put it into a holding account set up for just this, and that the town will take care of the monitoring, of paying for the monitoring every 5 years.
I don't have an issue with that. I think you recall when we first discussed the Sudbury Valley Trustees, we wanted to do it on a, time basis. We thought annual, but if it's every 5 years, that's fine too. I mean, obviously, the amount of money would be some concern. If Sudbury Valley Trustees wants $100,000, that's going to be
we're sure.
Well, I'm picking a number out of here.
Yeah,
that's obviously a problem, but
right.
and we can add to the the language of the declaration of trust, the obligation, every 5 years to renew with the town, for the monitoring of the conservation land.
And that would become part of the HOA?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the developer's not going to be there forever. So
Correct.
we would fund, I presume the way this would work is we would fund, whatever it is that handles the first 5 years, and to ensure that you get, funding for the next 5 years, that the obligation would be on the condominium association, to do so.
Right. Yeah, it appears as though that's how we're going to have to do it. I'm not really sure where the miscommunication between John and Kristen happened, but they're standing pretty firm by the 5 years.
Well, I think SVT has been evolving in this sort of service field in the past 2 or 3 years, and they just may have changed their policies in the interim.
Right. All right. So if we could get an updated version of that document that includes that language, we can do that. And personally, I think that the commission need to decide if we're gonna, I think we need to vote tonight to decide if we're gonna allow any occupancy permits and how many, if any at all. Don't everybody speak at once.
If I can just interject here for a second. You're not going to be here for the next commission meeting, but the following
Correct.
one would be sometime like the third week of March or something like that.
Correct.
So if the commission would be willing, to release 11, which would take us through March, excuse me, and then you would have the revised language for the condominium documents, before your next meeting, and make a decision then as to whether to release any further or go from there. Suggestion.
Gonna start calling on you if you don't volunteer.
And has there been any movement by the state at all on this?
Yeah,
Not that I've, yeah, go ahead, Alex.
not crickets, not a sound, not a peep.
Right.
And I just, I think they probably have a huge backlog since John Joya left. I think they've just, not carried out, the things that they need to do.
And we can't be the only ones screaming at them.
No, I don't think so. And I know I have 4 others in the works, coming up, and I'm like telling clients it might be a year now.
Right.
I just don't know.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Have we as a commission done all we can to protect the town and move this project forward?
I mean, I think so. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what else we can do. I'm certainly open to other things that other people might have, if there's anything else that we want to make sure gets done. I know the trails were a huge thing and that was finally done.
I guess, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
My concern, obviously, from what we just heard, and I understand that people are going to be living there, this is going to come up and they're going to make a stink, I think. It sounds as if this person might, once they get in there, and they might, given the fact that I know what's in the document and what will be recorded, but my concern is that if the CR isn't recorded with the state, or if, are we still going to do this 30-year thing if we can't get the CR recorded by the state?
No, we're not. I mean,
Okay.
because I do believe that the conservation restriction will get approved by the state at some point. It has been received by them. So Alex, one question I have is, so the attachments that you sent are drafts and say so right on there. at what point, I mean, obviously, we've now just made an amendment. At what point are we getting the final documents, and what assurance? You know, I know we sound like a bunch of paranoid people, but we have definitely had issues where what we think is happening is not what's happening. So I guess I need some assurance that the agreement that the homeowners are getting, the declaration of trust, and the master deed are indeed the final copies.
And I think the appropriate thing is, since these documents need, excuse me, since the documents need to go on record before any conveyances can occur, that you just make it a condition that you get a recorded copy of the documents prior to the release of any, occupancy certificates. So they'll be final, they'll be on record, and that's it.
So how does that work timing wise?
So the way it would work would be the documents that we've provided to, did I lose you? You're still there?
No, we're here.
The documents I provided to you would go on record, and there's going to be a phasing of the units as they go in. So the documents as they are now would go on record, and then prior to phase 2, which is almost immediate, would be the revisions to the documents regarding the 5 years that, the funding interval that you would need to see and approve at your March, whatever
16th.
it is. 16th.
Yeah, 16th, yep.
Unless the commission wants to review them at the next meeting. It's up to you. But the documents as they are now would go on record before any conveyances.
Right. So I definitely want to see the addition of the 5-year monitoring.
Mhm.
And I mean, I personally, I guess, I personally would be willing to go to allow a small number of occupancy permits once we get the master deed and the declaration of trust for however many we decide. And I think we're just going to have to baby step it, just it's going to be painful for everybody involved, but I'm not entirely sure what choice we have other than to just say no. And I'm not really sure that that is the best path. Kyle, how do you feel about it? Yes, I told you I was going to call on. I'm going to call on all of you, so have your answers ready.
I think that if we release a small amount, gives everyone a little bit of leeway. Not 27, I don't know. I think I suggested 11 last time. So maybe meet in the middle at 15 or 10 or something like that would be agreeable.
Robin?
So my dogs are barking, so sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm okay with releasing a handful, but you know, it's gonna be a month by month thing, and I think, you know, depending on how long this drags out, you know, at some point, if it doesn't get resolved, we may have to say no.
AJ?
I'm on board with that. 10 or a dozen. It's very unfortunate that we can't get action out of the state, but yeah, we don't know what their circumstances are. We're not stepping out of line in a legal sense, are we? I can't see that we are, but
By allowing some, I do not believe that would be a problem. Holly?
For me, I would say I know waiting is obviously the state's not gonna do it anytime soon, but at the same time, I feel that when the first few come in and we're able to move in, they're going to, obviously, I have a feeling they're just going to fight and create some kind of issue. But if I'll do whatever you guys agree, but personally, my instincts are to hold back and not release anything at this time. That's my feeling.
And Louise?
Okay, I just don't feel like we have a very strong guarantee that things are going to go the way we want them to go. That's the concept, you know, they were asking for 7 occupancy permits. Now we're up to 11. I'm really concerned about the way the properties, you know, were advertised, knowing that there were going to be trails on that property, that it was going to be open to the public, that they designed the development the way they did, and then claim that people were going to have a scenic view with lots of privacy, when obviously there wasn't going to be. And I don't know, I just am very uncomfortable with the whole issue.
Yeah, I agree with Louise that it is concerning to hear that a, you know, soon-to-be resident didn't know about this.
Right.
I agree. Unfortunately, you know, that how they're marketing the property isn't within our purview.
Right.
And I think we've all tried to be extra cautious about making sure we have in writing what it is that we've come to agreement about.
But to Holly's point, if, you know, if people start moving in and, you know, and then they start fighting the fact that there's these trails here, saying that they, you know, didn't know about it.
Right, which is why the agreement, so, you know, I think also giving everybody some time to view the agreement, making sure that the agreement that the developer has with the homeowners association is consistent with what we're expecting.
So Mr. Stebbins has his hand raised again.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Allow him to talk.
Thank you again. I'm proposing to the developer that if they just remove the trail easement from parcel C, I'm not sure if that was a pre-existing one. But that would really remove, I think, all residents' concerns about privacy. It's really the only section that really impinges on people's privacy. Most of those trails, I would say 80% of the trails that are proposed would remain, and I think most, or if not all, of the resident concerns would be gone.
I appreciate that, but unfortunately, I mean, that it's part of the reason we fought so hard for the trails on that property is those are major connectors to other trail systems in town. So if we cut off a portion of that, it doesn't achieve the goal that we set from the very beginning about including.
You can get to all connectors to other properties without that parcel C section.
I have to disagree.
Okay.
So I feel that this was something that we before the property was been sold, and we talked about this and preserving the existing trails. And when the development occurred, I was there every day watching them, and I said, "Oh, you just infringed upon this trail." And I was out there like a hawk watching and making sure that we preserve what we agreed upon from the beginning. And we came to an agreement, and we've worked hard on this for a couple of years to come up with this plan. And it's part of the CR, and they were aware of this. I walked the trails with Stephen Acosta a couple of times. So that's what they knew had to happen. So it wasn't that this just, happened overnight. This is something that we've worked on for quite some time. So, and it's important, I think, to the town that we have this, and other residents that abut that area are very interested in keeping these trails as well.
Yeah. Yep. Kyle?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that parcel C must be on the right side, abutting Duncan's land. Is that
parcel C is the development parcel as a whole, so there are
Right. So is that
easements.
Well,
right?
I'm trying to figure out where Joseph is.
Right. Is that Alex, is that the trail that parallels Highland Street?
There is so.
Right, because those are the first houses that were built. So I'm assuming those are the ones that are the first that are being sold.
So from Highland Street, there's a trail easement along a portion of, I guess you would call it the back of the property, parallel to Highland. Then there's a trail easement along the very edge of parcel C that's perpendicular to Highland. And then there's a crossing, for want of a better word, of the driveway that goes into parcel B.
Right.
So the effect is to create a loop around the development, mostly on parcel D and B, but with a little bit on parcel C.
Right, because the trails used to come down through the middle of the property, and now they kind of go around.
Right.
Right.
And that's also the wildlife corridor. It's not that something that just it's been
exactly
that's your trails. That's like part of everything. It circumvents. I mean, it all comes together there. So it's a very important piece of. Well, we want to keep that connected.
That's how the bears get from Eric Shartner's farm to Brewer Brook.
Right. The turkeys, the deer, the bear, the foxes, there's an abundance of wildlife back there. And if honestly, anybody who has the privilege to live in that development is going to be amazed on the wildlife that they get to see.
Right.
It's a beautiful piece of property, but it's for the town to enjoy. It's not, this is something that when we agreed to vote on this for the town, we wanted to preserve something that the town could enjoy, as well as let people get to live there. So I feel it's a win-win for everybody. And if we try to start making tweaks here and there, it's not going to end. We just think we need to
Right.
keep with what we've done, and that's what we have to stick with. And that's part of the reason why I want to hold on to our agreement that we came to. And
Right.
well, folks say that I want to wait until we get this a little more solidified.
Well, it's with respect to it, I mean, I'm not questioning what Mr. Stebbins has said at all. But we have made the commitment to the town for these trail easements. And Mr. Benincasa is going to have to work out with Mr. Stebbins his issues, but we are committed to the grant of these trail easements. And I know you didn't want to do the 30-year CR. And so we tried to work around that, but we're still willing to make the grant of the trail easements effective immediately. And it's really got nothing to do with the conservation, the perpetualness of the conservation restriction as such. If the trail easements are granted, they're permanent, it's like any other property right. And we can do that presently. I gave you a draft previously. You want to put the trail easements to bed, we can do that.
Is that your January 25th? Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, there are two documents, the trail easement and then the 30-year restriction. So the trail easements, like any other easement, it's perpetual, it's
Right.
nothing but
Okay.
state approval.
Yep. So I don't know how I missed this before on this document. So the current makeup of the commission is not accurately listed on that document.
Marvelous.
Just so you know. So we need to correct that. So I absolutely would like to get this recorded before we make a vote. How is that working these days with COVID?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean.
So well, because before COVID, you would have come to one of our meetings. You would put this document in front of us. We would all sign it. Eloise would notarize it, and you would take it with you and record it.
Yes.
So how are we doing this? So you will send us, we'll print this, we'll.
So, I mean, it just varies from town to town. I think the most common thing is that we provide you with a copy signed on our part. And then commissioners, you know, as they have the opportunity, you know, drop by the town hall and sign the document. Seems to be the most common setup.
Okay. And then send it back to you when we're done.
Or just let us know, you know, pick it up and put it on record.
Okay, so I would like to do that. If you could, so let me find it again. Hate that Gmail doesn't let you leave tabs open. Nope, that one. Oh, I found, yeah. So you've got Steve Beard and Liz DiChiara on the document as signers. And so we need to add AJ Moses, or AJ, do you want AJ or Adrian?
Oh, when I sign, it's Adrian.
Okay. Adrian Moses and Kyle Tucker. And where's Holly? Steve, Robin, Walter, me, Louise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, because you've only got 6 people here. So we also need to add Holly.
Is the website list complete now? Do you know?
Let me check. I thought Kyle may not be on there because he's our newest. Correct. Yes. So the website is correct. The one vacancy is Kyle Tucker. So actually, Maddie, if you could email Mary Arata at the selectman's office and ask her to have Kyle added onto that list on the town website. That would be great. So I think next steps are we get the trail easement recorded. And then at our next meeting on the 16th, we'll vote to release or not a number or no or none of the occupancy permits.
Well, in terms of, being able to inform customers and plan, for closings, I'd respectfully ask for a vote tonight conditioned upon, the provision of a corrected trail easement signed, to the commission, and the language, on the 5-year funding, that the commission would vote to release 11 occupancy certificates at this point. Obviously conditioned upon receiving those things first. Because if I come to March 16, I'm already putting customers off again. And I can't tell them that, that the commission is willing to do anything at that point. Just would seem the fair thing to do, the appropriate thing to do at this point.
I would be willing to entertain that if anybody was willing to make a motion. Louise?
Okay, I just want to be clear on what the motion would be. So he's asking that we would release 11 occupancy permits with a recorded agreement for the trail easement.
and updated language in the, Alex, what's the name of that document?
In the
Declaration of Trust?
Yeah, and in the master deed.
Right, so master deed. Declaration of trust,
And that would be for the monitoring
that would be for the monitoring.
and master deed.
And including the language that's already there in the draft that I provided.
Right, including the updated language and including the 5-year monitoring.
Okay, but we
And I-
haven't seen the document yet. So, you know, we would be voting on something that we haven't reviewed.
The trail easement you have, except for correction of the listing of the commissioners.
Right, I will re-forward that document to that email. So this declaration of restrictions,
That's the 30-year.
that's
thing.
the
We're not-
30-year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah. It's the trail easement.
right. So I'm forwarding this email to everybody with 2 attachments, but it's just the trail easement that we're looking at.
Okay, so we can look at it now.
You can look at it now.
Okay.
Holly, AJ.
It's the same thing I ordered earlier, right?
No, that was the declaration of trust and the master deed. So should be getting that.
Post mail.
Mr. Stebbins?
Yes, I don't mean to be disruptive, but I do have a level of concern that if you are releasing occupancy permits that on condition that the customers will be notified of a closing date, cancel contracts with landlords, arrange for movers, make other things, and then there is a possibility that they won't be able to close on the date. If it's possible to say that it must be made understood to all the customers that these occupancy permits are conditional and are not final and what they're pending to be completed. I think that communication is essential to all the customers who are involved.
Alex, I think that's your bailiwick.
So what we're not talking about conditional occupancy certificates, but conditions prior to the issuance of final occupancy certificates for a limited number of units. So once the occupancy certificates are issued, they're not conditional, that they would, so no customer is going to be moving into a unit with a, you know, a conditioned occupancy certificate. So these
So you won't be promising closing dates to any customers as a result of tonight's vote?
Well, I'm trying to, okay. I'm not promising occupancy certificates or closing dates to anybody. That's, you know, up to your council and, you know, the real estate council in terms of scheduling closings. So I can't sit here and tell you that your closing is going to be on, you know, any particular date. I just simply have no knowledge of that. What I do know is that there are a list of units that have been sold that have been scheduled or rescheduled in March. And what I'm trying to do here, besides meeting our promises to the Conservation Commission, is to enable those closings to go forward. And so, and they can't go forward without occupancy certificates. So what we're saying here is that we're going to give to the town in recordable form the trail easements that have been promised to the town. And we're going to give a revised, slightly revised declaration of trust and master deed that provides for the continued funding of monitoring of the conservation restriction by the Sudbury Valley trustees. And you stop me if I'm telling you things you know already. For the Sudbury Valley trustees is a conservation organization in Massachusetts that is moving into this field of servicing, you know, town conservation commissions and other private conservation organizations to ensure that the provisions of the conservation restriction are complied with. So they come
They're a
and do-
land trust.
Yeah, they come and do annual inspections and make sure, you know, there are no encroachments on the conservation land and nothing untoward happening on the conservation land.
Correct. The other thing, Alex, that I'll need should the commission decide to approve 11 is I will need those 11 addresses so that the correct 11 get, that the building inspector gets notified of the correct 11. Louise, is your hand up again or?
No,
Okay.
I'm still thinking here.
Okay.
Mm.
So Alex, I'm still a little concerned about the timing of how this will all work. So
I can provide these documents, or, you know, amended documents, beginning of next week. To the commission. So it's, and if they're approved, I mean, as soon as they're approved, you know, we can, you know, put them forward and put them on record. I mean, the language, the only you know, changes are on the trail easement. It's to correct the, you know, the names of the commissioners. The list of 11 addresses I have, and the funding for SVT, I wouldn't make that specific to SVT because, you know, who knows in 5 years' time whether they want to do it, but I would just say to, you know, to pay to the town, you know, for 5 years of monitoring by, you know, an appropriate conservation organization selected by the town.
Right, payable to the Conservation Commission.
Or payable to, well, I guess it's payable to the town, but yeah. Or payable.
Right, yeah, we'll have to get the exact name of the account from the town accountant. Just because I don't want it to accidentally, because we didn't word it correctly, that it ends up in the general fund and then we have to ask for it every 5 years. That would be less than ideal.
Do you have a revolving fund?
We do not. Okay. So the town accountant said that they would set up an agency account, which is an account that the town keeps in a separate bank account and the interest stays with the funds. We would need to make an agreement with all parties involved stating the amount and what the funds can be used for. Please make sure you make a copy of the check and we agree on the name for the account. Also make it clear that it would end, what would end the agreement and to whom the funds would be returned to at that point. Also, if the account needs to receive additional funds at some point in time. So that's how the town accountant would like it to be set up.
I don't have any issue with any of that. I don't know if the town accountant might have a form that he's used or she's used in the past. That would help. But again, I don't have an issue with any of it.
Right. Maddie, can you follow up with June about that tomorrow?
Yep, can do.
Okay, awesome.
Also, I just have a random question too. So
Yeah.
will it be written in that like the condo association fees will cover the next 5 years perpetually, essentially, of
Yes.
conservation monitoring? Yeah.
So
Okay.
in the documents, there are already some categories of things that you know, need to be covered by the common charges. I think there's something for, I mean, there's always a capital reserve, but then there's something I think for the public water supply and that sort of stuff. So yes, I would add that into the list of the condo common charges.
Okay, so back to kind of the timing of things. If we voted tonight to conditionally release, well, to release 11 units as long as the conditions that we talked about were met. If we were to do that, you would get us the updated documents early next week. We would print the trail easement. We would all sign the trail easement. Well, actually, no, you would send us the trail easement signed already by you guys.
Yes,
Right. So then we would all sign it, presumably by the end of next week. We would then inform you that it was ready, it was done. Would there be 2 copies that would need to be signed, one for us, one for you?
it's not necessary, just so long as one original gets recorded, but I'm happy to provide you with 2 if you want to have a second original in your files.
Yeah, that would be good. And then, so we would keep a copy, you would take it, record it. We would then get some sort of official notice of recording.
I would
Not-
give you an actual recorded copy, which will have the book and page
Okay,
on it.
right. So assuming that all takes to the end of the month. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I think that's doable.
Okay, because the other, because the other thing that I would probably like to include in any motion is that none of the occupancy permits would be issued before March 1st. That gives us time to get all of this. That gives Mr. Stebbins at least one sort of hard date. Does that seem reasonable?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, that it sets expectations. And then that gives us 2 weeks. Maddie can say, really, Maddie, all you need from me is my signature, which as long as we get all the documents in the next week and a half and get all of that, then you'll have that. And then the rest of it you can take care of. And then we have all of our documents. Everybody will have time to look at it. And if there's a problem, we will let you know before March 1st. But otherwise, that gives us that date.
And I'm fine with that.
Okay. Holly, does that make you feel a little bit better about this?
It makes me feel a little better. Yes, knowing that we're putting out, yeah.
Okay, right. That way, that gives us 2 weeks or a week and a half to, well, just about 2 weeks to make sure that all of the documents say what they're going to say and get recorded before we release anything.
Great.
Anybody else have any yay or nay about that?
Just as
Louise?
an,
No, 1 second, Alex. Louise?
All right, so this would guarantee that the trail easements, as they were agreed upon, would be protected in perpetuity.
Correct.
It would also guarantee that the conservation restriction will be recorded on the deeds even though the state has not reviewed and accepted them? Did I get that right?
Well, to be precise, so there's no misunderstanding, it's a guarantee that what the state approves will be recorded. So, I mean, we would have some, in practically every conservation restriction I've ever dealt with, the Commonwealth has some comments and changes. And usually, at least from the developer's point of view, the developer is, doesn't really have a stake in it. And so, if the town and the Commonwealth have approved it, then that's what gets recorded.
So what happens if the state says, well, we want this change and it's not what we want? We've already agreed to give you the occupancy permits.
Well, again,
Alex, if I may,
Yeah.
unfortunately, assuming we don't give any occupancy permits and the state comes back with comments, I can't truly envision a comment that, I mean, the conservation restriction itself is not that unusual. What we wrote, what we submitted is pretty basic down the line. We're not asking for anything unusual or looking for anything, that I would anticipate the state having a problem with. I can't envision the state, the state would not ask us to be more lenient. They would, if anything, they would ask for more restrictions. Is that accurate, Alex?
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. I mean, that's, again, the changes the Commonwealth requests typically are wordsmithing, more than anything else. And again, we would have, we're not going to have any objection to what the Commonwealth wants, and I don't think the town will either.
Right, and we would have our attorneys look at any requests that the Commonwealth has. But I cannot foresee that the Commonwealth would ask us. We haven't asked for anything onerous in the conservation restriction to begin with. So I would not foresee them wanting to change it in a way that would be more lenient. I mean, their job is to protect land also.
Right.
I mean, quite explicitly, their job is to ensure that the conservation restriction promotes conservation values. I mean, it's quite explicitly part of their mandate.
But can I just ask this? I mean, it's paranoid, kind of stupid question, but is there a way that if we gave the occupancy permits and then the people that move in can fight this CR or something that could keep it from the state ever approving it? Is there anything that would prevent this from happening?
Yes, in the condominium documents that we provided, particularly the master deed, the unit owners are bound by the master deed, and the master deed explicitly, provides that the unit owners have no right to object to the conservation restriction.
Right. So the answer, Holly, actually is no. That they do not, that they cannot fight it because they're gonna sign a document that says they won't.
So is the master deed part of the CR?
No, the master deed is the governing doc, or one of the governing documents of every condominium. And it sets forth effectively all the title restrictions that go with a condominium. So it's the
So I guess
deed.
I guess what I meant, is it like incorporated by reference? Like, is it,
Or the conservation restriction is incorporated by reference into the master deed. So in many separate ways. So the master deed, obligates the condominium to the recording of a conservation restriction as approved by the town and the Commonwealth. It's listed as a title encumbrance, and there are express provisions that require the condominium in the future to comply with the CR.
So it becomes part of, does it become part of each title?
Yeah, so each unit owner derives their title subject to the master deed. So that's why it has to go on before, any of the units can be conveyed. You just can't convey a condominium unit without a master deed being on record. So that's why, if we put these documents, not if, we have to put them on before we can make any conveyances of the units. The units are subject to all the provisions of the master deed, and the master deed provides all of these separate protections that I've highlighted to ensure that the conservation restriction is approved by the town and the Commonwealth, gets recorded, and the condominium association is obligated by the CR.
Right. And so, and we will get before March 1st, in order for us to release whatever number we agree to, if we do, we will get a copy of the trail easement being recorded, the master deed being recorded, and the declaration of trust being recorded.
You will have the trail easement recorded. You will have the final versions of the master deed and trust for your, review. But the occupancy certificates would not be released until those documents are recorded, master deed. And so trail easement, master deed, declaration of trust, all have to be recorded before any of the occupancy certificates are actually released.
Correct.
So the short answer is the trail easement can be recorded prior to March 1st. The master deed and trust would most likely not be recorded before March 1st, but would be recorded before any occupancy certificates are released.
Okay. So then the March 1st date wouldn't hold.
March 1st date, well, you said the March 1st would be, nothing gets released before then.
Correct.
I agree, nothing gets released before then.
Okay.
Nothing gets released until all three are on record.
Correct. Okay.
when do you anticipate the master deed getting filed?
Well, my anticipation would be in the first week of March. I just don't think that you know, you guys will have the opportunity to look at the final revisions, you know, before March 1st, so.
Nothing. Okay, so absolutely nothing before March 1st, but nothing would get released before all three documents are recorded.
Correct.
And you said we won't even have the final revisions to review on the master deed?
No, I will get them to you next week.
Okay.
You'll have everything in, you know, early next week. You know, it's just,
So
It's a
how do we
short-
know that the copy that we review is the copy that gets filed?
because once you give me the go-ahead they would get recorded, you get a recorded copy. And when you're satisfied that I recorded what I showed you, and you approved, then you can tell the building inspector we're all set to go. So everything stays in your control until the conditions are fulfilled and you're satisfied that they've been fulfilled.
Louise,
All right. So if we vote tonight and the vote is in the affirmative, could an occupancy permit could be issued on March 1st?
no.
Okay,
No, from what Alex is saying, we're not gonna have, he won't have the opportunity to have all of the three documents that we're requiring will not be able to be recorded by March 1st.
okay.
So
right.
I brought, so when I said March 1st, that's so nobody expects anything before then.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows we have at least until March 1st. And then as soon after that, that we get all three documents recorded.
Right, but the CR is still not recorded with the state or still not approved by the state.
Correct. But
So,
that could take a year.
right. So how would that work? So if somebody signs the papers, you know, and takes possession of their condominium before it is approved by the state, it would be recorded on their deed?
The CR is not one of the three documents that we're requiring.
Just so the CR, though, is required by the master deed and the declaration of trust to be recorded once it's approved by the town and the state. So
On the individual deeds?
Well, it would never get recorded on every individual deed, but it's part of the master deed. And so by purchasing a unit subject to the master deed, all of the unit owners are agreeing and waiving their right to object. And the developer and the trustees are reserving the power to record the conservation restriction once it's approved by the state. So if you're a unit owner and you're buying a unit, you buying with the knowledge that the trail easements have been recorded, and you're buying with the knowledge that parcels B and D will become subject to a permanent conservation restriction. And that you're bound to that.
Louise, is your concern that we'll go through all of this and the CR doesn't actually get final recording?
Right. And that people will say, look, it hasn't been accepted by the state. It's not you know, I
Right.
just,
So the control that we have over that is, unfortunately, we're going to keep going through this until we're going to release the occupancy permits little bit at a time until the CR is recorded, is approved and recorded. And that then gives us, you know, if we get to the end of the year and they've got 27 occupancy permits, the CR has been approved but not recorded, they don't get another occupancy permit until the CR is recorded.
I guess I just don't feel comfortable that that will happen because they weren't supposed to get building permits until it was recorded. Then they weren't supposed to get occupancy permits until it was recorded. And now we're saying, okay, we'll give you 11 occupancy permits. You know, I just don't, I'm just skeptical.
Understood.
So Mr. Stebbins has had his hand raised.
Yep. Mr. Stebbins?
Thank you. The master deed that is being proposed would in fact remove an owner's ability to object with the condo association, however, would not restrict them from pursuing with the state their concerns about those conservation restrictions and the trails. Unfortunately, not all stakeholders were included in this discussion that you had way back, and not all people were informed. I'm proposing a 500-foot elimination of the trail, gets rid of what any of the 5 residents who are affected would have any objection to. If we get this over with now, you have less resistance with the state process.
So, Mr. Stebbins, are you saying that if we do not approve elimination of 500 feet of the trail, that you would pursue objections to the CR at the state level?
I do have to consider that, and I felt that I should give that input because there was a concern about disgruntled homeowners. And there are homeowners in phase 1 who are directly being looked over. It's not walk the trail now that the homes are there. It is not a walk through the woods. It is a walk through people's backyards. That 500 feet is not a nature trail.
So how did you just become aware of this week? Like, how was it conveyed to you?
By a transmission of a new master deed draft under the auspices of including a cable agreement. They didn't even tell us this conservation agreement was in there. I had to do the research and make inquiry, and was just given documents within the last couple of days that showed me about these trail easements.
So, yeah, and I, just so my fellow commissioners understand, I am not proposing this, but if we were to eliminate 500 feet of trail, how would you recommend that people get from one end of the trail to the other?
Oh, they could walk on the street, because they have to walk on the street now to get by. So it's just a little bit further walking on the street, or you walk around the loop. You have an entrance behind my house. I'm not sure people are using that trail because there's signs that say no trespassing. There's camera monitoring. I think that trail's pretty close. There's one on the Frederick Wheeler portion that can get you down to Carter Road. The 500 feet that I'm talking about looks like a construct made to conform with this particular development. And I don't think it was an historical path at all.
Well, the
Well-
historical path was destroyed
Exactly.
with the building of the development. So you are correct that this trail was created, but it was created to replace the historical trail.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean,
And the
I'd
thing
be,
is, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'd be willing to meet with you and show you what I'm proposing and be a strong advocate of what you're trying to do. If you could make this one minor tweak to a portion of these trails that are right up against 3 duplexes in the complex. Other than that, the trail is, as you say, a beautiful walk through the woods.
Right, but I agree that if we make those, if we try to make a change there, other people are going to say, well, and I don't want this in my backyard either. And so I feel I'm sticking to what we agreed upon and what we have, and we worked hard to get those trails in there.
Yeah. I just think if you walk it with me, you'll see that 500 feet I'm talking about is a altogether different situation than the rest of the trails.
Well, I know, but I'm the one who, I kind of was the one who did that. So I know them like the back of my hand. And
yeah,
that's something that we knew had to happen in order
but were the houses built when you did it? Because now that the houses are built.
Yes, it was planned, and then we had to change it again because where I originally marked before they even developed, I told them where trailheads were in existence. And that I said, all of a sudden, I said, wait a minute, you're putting houses here. And that wasn't in the plan before. But we came up with this agreement with the trails, again, you know, with Stephen Acosta, and I walk them. And this is what we're proposing. And they went ahead and they worked with us to make it happen.
Kyle.
Yeah, so when we laid out those trails along the right side, to which Mr. Stebbins is referring to, that trail is tight against Duncan's land, against the stone wall where the path was before, parts of it. And I know where he's talking about where it says no trespassing, but that's right at Duncan's trailhead. So
the no trespassing sign is where? Is on whose property?
at the Y intersection of the trail going from the back right corner of Highland to Duncan's land towards the apple orchard. Or the apple trees. I would
Right,
call it
so,
apple
but the
trees.
no trespassing sign is on whose property?
Duncan's facing
Duncan's property.
facing out.
Right.
I think there was an issue with a kid in the neighborhood with a 4-wheeler back when, which I think was
Right,
resolved.
right, that those, and yeah, Duncan's aware, and that was just, yeah, it was actually a different issue than that, but yeah.
So,
it's
and the signs are older, so I don't.
Yeah,
think
they're
that's
pretty
relevant.
old. He had to do that for a domestic, like a different issue, and that was part of what the town told him to do in order to keep certain things from happening. And
But we did lay out the trail tight as we could to the stone wall and that property line, and it's an integral part of the loop. You can't
exactly
take
right.
that part away,
It's,
because then you're defeating the purpose of the whole system.
and again, I mean, the wildlife use that. It's something that you can't keep people out, like there's
Right,
yeah.
Right, and certainly rerouting it to the street is not an option.
No.
Well, the
Um,
wildlife don't need an easement. They'll go where they're gonna go.
So Carolyn, I think we've been talking about this for like an hour and a half now. And I think given this like new information, I propose that we don't vote on this tonight. If the documents aren't even going to be ready until early March anyway, I think we need some time for this to shake out, because if we go start approving stuff tonight and then these homeowners that just found out about this, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we should be voting it tonight.
Right, so Alex, I would like you to still get us those 3 documents. And
I have no knowledge whatsoever of the marketing. I don't know anything about Mr. Stebbins' issues. What I do know is that we've committed to give you the trail easements. We're still committed to giving you the trail easements.
Yep.
Um,
And where,
and if the commission, and again, you can do this, it's, but if the commission is not prepared to vote tonight, then not only is the occupancy certificate for Mr. Stebbins' unit going to be held up,
absolutely.
but also for, other purchasers who are not, present.
I
tonight.
agree, and that is very unfortunate. And I personally was ready to vote to move forward with the agreement that we had kind of carved out in the last hour and a half. But I am not willing to risk individual lawsuits
Mhm.
and the possibility of this being held up even more. I think you guys need to figure out what's going on with these people who have just been recently notified of this change.
Well,
Before,
what is going to happen between now and March 16th that is going to, change what the Conservation Commission has negotiated for and is entitled to? The only thing, that's going on here right now is that, Mr. Stebbins has some concerns as to what's been represented to him. Again, I have no knowledge whatsoever what he's been told or not told. I don't know anything about that. But it's not material to what we've promised to the Conservation Commission and are willing to give you.
so
And if there are issues between Mr. Stebbins and Mr. Benincasa, they're going to have to work it out.
I
And
agree.
that's-
So tell me, so Alex, is he correct that the documents would
It's correct that the documents that we circulated to you have been circulated to all of the purchasers.
and that those documents, while they don't allow the homeowners association to fight the CR, that they do
Or the unit
allow,
owner.
that it does allow individual people to.
No. It specifically provides that the unit owners cannot object to the recording of the conservation restrictions. Very explicit.
Mr. Stebbins?
No, as a citizen of the state, as a stakeholder, a master deed can't restrict me from going to the state of Massachusetts Conservation Commission and challenging approval of a CR. I can't challenge it with the homeowners association or with the trustees of the development, but they can't stop me from pursuing as an individual citizen my rights under the state law.
Yeah, he's probably right about that.
And this whole process has motivated me to want to do that. I was left out of the loop. I was tricked. There was not good faith in the deal. I'm willing to work it out as quickly as possible with you folks and with the developer. Slamming this thing into the master deed will motivate homeowners to fight.
Kyle?
So with that, I think we can circle back with our fears that were brought up by Luis and Holly are literally coming true in the middle of a meeting of what may happen. So is it possible to put a motion in to table this and the vote for occupancy till our next meeting and just end it and be done?
Yep.
You
I
can
think-
make whatever motion you would like. Is that a motion that you are making?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to do that.
I will
Right.
second that.
Yes, me too. 30.
So there you have it, Alex. Oh, well, we should vote first. Um, All those in favor of tabling this discussion to our March 16th meeting? Holly,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Louise. Whoop, you were muted.
Okay, aye. All right, so Robin, you seconded the motion?
Yes, I think so.
Yep. And
You're-
Carolyn, I. So Alex, that's where we stand. I would, in anticipation of things going differently at our next meeting, I would still like to move ahead, certainly with the recording of the trail easement. And
Well, it, Mr. Stebbins' objection is precisely to that. I mean, again,
No, well-
no, it's very precisely to that. He doesn't want the trail easement in his, in the vicinity of his unit. And the only thing I can anticipate now, between now and March 16, is to try to work it out with Mr. Stebbins. And I'm happy to ask my client to do that. Or, we record the trail easement and, that becomes the finality of the trail easement. And I don't know what objections Mr. Stebbins would have to the conservation restriction separate from the trail easement. I didn't hear any tonight. I believe his concern is as to the location of the trails and not to the conservation restriction itself. Separate and apart from that, maybe he can clarify that for us. But it's again, I'm willing to give you the signed trail easement, but I don't think that's going to make Mr. Stebbins very happy.
Carolyn, I would say we should just have them work out their issues out,
I agree.
outside of this
Yep.
meeting and be done with it.
Yep, right. But the agreement, Alex, that we have it is,
As I said many times during this meeting, we're
I
prepared to
agree.
go-
I
We're
agree.
prepared to go forward with it.
Yep.
But that's not going to make Mr. Stebbins, that's not going to resolve his issues. It's going to
Well,
exacerbate.
we are not going to resolve Mr. Stebbins' issues, but Mr. Stebbins needs to, and Mr. Vinicasa need to work this out.
Okay,
you know.
so then I just want to be very clear here so that, we don't have any misunderstanding, is that if we go ahead and give you the recordable trail easement, and you sign off on it and we record it, that's going to end the issues, at least with respect to the Conservation Commission concerning the trail easement.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right, 7:30, March 16th.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate your
you.
time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Um, all right. Well, I don't have anything else tonight.
Nope, I'm all set.
Mr. Della Penna, were you just having 2 hours that you needed to kill, or did you did you have any questions or anything?
I'm kind of stunned because I'm a realtor in my day job. And I live and breathe trails. In fact, I'm the first realtor in the United States to actually specialize in the sale of property near trails. And I know my share of people opposed to them. And while you were having your little scene there, I went online and I looked up this property, this complex. Nowhere does it say that there's going to be hiking and walking trails nearby. I'm shocked because I know right now there's over 7,000 properties on the market that tout their proximity to a trail. Walking and hiking trails are not my specialty. I mostly focus on bike paths created from dead railroad corridors.
I know,
Like
I
the one that-
recognized your name.
Yes, I have that unusual last name, an impediment in life I cannot hide. But nonetheless, this fellow who is upset at the prospect of this CR building a modest hiking trail near his house, he needs to ask his buyer agent, why wasn't he told? If he doesn't have a buyer agent, he falls into a very new 21st century oddity here. 95% of the people who buy property now in North America, they have a buyer agent.
Right.
If he doesn't have a buyer agent who is with a listing agent, this property is an anomaly in how it's marketed. I don't want
Well,
to
that
get too
just,
deep
that,
into it.
for us, that kind of shows
right.
the importance of this, that the builder has put on all this.
That's right. And it's
And
very
that's-
unusual to be this far into the project to completion, to not have your CR nailed down.
Wait,
Oh, exactly.
I know you know. That's
Yeah.
right.
No,
That's,
well,
I know you
sorry.
know that.
Holly.
Yeah, sorry. But no, it's so funny because when I was talking to the Russos and I told them about the trails and I showed them before they even started development. And I said, just FYI, eventually there's probably going to be a bike path down there that these trails actually take you right to. And this property kind of almost abuts it. So it's a total win-win for people who live here. And then
That's
Steve
right.
Anacasa was like, oh, really? Oh, these trails are beautiful. Yeah, I know them. And I'm a big avid mountain biker. And these are, and oh, and you say there's going to be a bike path here eventually, maybe? Oh, that's just great. So he knew this from before they even started. So I just right now I am like on fire. I am so upset because I kind of knew this was going to happen, and I don't know. I'm just super upset.
Well, let me tell you about what the next steps are probably here. You know, I'm just stumbled into this thing tonight, so I'm not in the know here. But there's something that all real estate firms and realtors live and breathe by. It's called E&O insurance. It stands for errors and omissions insurance. This is a case study in that. This is a case study in that. And there's like a $5,000 deductible for the insurance for the real estate firm per claim. And so that's really chump change in the scale of things here. You know, if the fellow who's generally opposed and upset about this. What he should do is they shut your mouth and then sell it before he owns it, or get it on the market before he fully owns it, and sell it to someone who wants to live there. He will make more money by advertising it based on the proximity to the hiking trail than he would by whining about it out loud right now.
Right.
Right. Well, also on top of it, Stephen Acasa has his own realtor. That the realtor that was showing the property is his realtor. So
That's
it's all,
right. It's the,
you know,
the
so that was the
listing
other
agent.
thing.
The listing
Right.
agent sold
Yep.
him the property. He gets both sides of the deal.
Absolutely.
This is so, in some communities, this is kind of a newfangled idea. I've been doing this for 19 years. I never heard of this firm until I looked them up.
Yeah.
And I
it's
don't
his
think
own-
they're really into the hiking trail there, even though you've
No.
got them on the arm for the CR. It's not being
Right.
marketed in the correct way. And,
Right.
and there
Right.
will be, there's such a tight market right now. If this fellow says, I'm going to sell my interest in this, he can probably make $50,000 more by walking away and giving this to someone else instead of whining about it right now. And
Right.
and it would
Okay.
behoove
All right,
the
all right, all
listing
right.
agent. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
this is how these things go.
yep.
I do want to
Um,
mention to you tonight on another topic, the Mass Central Rail Trail, that
Okay,
we're on the cusp of something pretty big here. We're going to be letting out an RFP. Not sure if it'll be next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, I don't know. But it's an RFP to look at what would it mean to the state to have the 100-mile trail fully open. Right now, we're at 51 miles or so. In another 18 months, will be around 65 miles open. Currently, it's around 80% in some kind of public protected status. And the reason I want to do this RFP to show what it would be worth is because when New York did this, they showed, there was a group in New York called Parks Trails New York, and this was 10 years ago. They did a study to show what the Erie Canal Trail, which was 300 plus miles long, what did that mean to the state of New York? Well, when they got the study done, they showed that it was worth $250 million a year when it was only 3/4 built. This was so stunning to the governor of New York that he commissioned or ordered DOT to build another 400 miles in 4 years. And they got done at December 2020, and they built what is now called the the Empire State Trail, which is 750 miles of shared use path.
wow.
Nothing else like it. But what we have here on the Mass Central Trail, which is very special, it actually intersects with 16 other trails. We discovered that when we wrote in, when we participated in the SJC decision to shut down Protect Sudbury and their nonsensical arguments. They just got their clock cleaned before the Surface Transportation Board again 2 weeks ago. If you got my newsletter, you'd see that. But this is 16 trails intersecting with this 100-mile trail. There's nothing else like this. We think that this thing, if it gets built out, it's going to be similar numbers to what New York was 10 years ago. And so this is very important. I believe the 5 Bridge area, or the 5 Corners area, I'm sorry, in Berlin. Berlin is, I believe that will be rebuilt. Those bridges will be rebuilt. The only thing that DOTs can build nowadays, where hundreds of people will show up at a ribbon cutting, are bicycle pedestrian bridges. Every month in my newsletter, I have 1 to 4 stories about bike ped bridges being rebuilt, repurposed, replaced from former railroad bridges. This is happening. the study, when it comes out, is going to be, it's going to be pretty compelling. And the state is going to decide, are we going to build this thing out, or are we going to still give out chump change little grants for rec trail grants to build a few hundred yards here, a few hundred yards there? What if it's $100 million? But what if it produces $200 to $300 million a year to the state? This is the big question. We have a new governor coming in next year, so the stars are aligning for this. So I wanted to give you a little heads up on this. And at our conference this coming July 30th in Gilbertville, a place you probably never heard of, with 130 buildings on the National Register in this little forgotten place, National Grid just 2 weeks ago green lighted a lease agreement with the land trust there, the Linear Thinking Land Trust there, East Quabbin Land Trust, to green light construction of the trail next to the $30 to $40 million cannabis facility going in to Gilbertville. Another news you've never heard of here. It's only 25 miles away. And so there's a lot going on. I didn't want to hog your meeting here. Just want to give you a couple of updates. But so good work, carry on. And
Thank
I
you.
serve on
You do amazing work. So
I'm telling you, you guys are stoic and great. Thank you for doing that. I serve on the Northampton Historical Commission, and we have a guy doing dastardly things there and tearing down places. And so kudos to you for your hard work and thankless job there, but I know it's very hard. Thank you for doing it, really.
we're all doing important work.
Yeah.
Yep.
When do you
right.
anticipate having that study?
Say it again, Robin.
When do you anticipate having the study done?
Well, it's a chicken. Does the egg come first or the chicken? Do I let it out to consulting firms, or do I get funding in place? How about if I do both simultaneously? It'll be around $50,000 on the scale of things. That's not a lot of money. It'll probably take a good part of a year to do this. And if you want, how about if I send it to you, Robin, and you can forward it to everybody else, the premise about why this is important, given what happened in New York. I'll send it to you if you want.
Yeah, sure.
And,
I'll take a look.
So,
Right. I think that was in one of your newsletters, because I read something. If it wasn't your newsletter, I read it somewhere about the study in New York. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was done in. Well, the newsletter came about because what happened in New York when Governor Cuomo saw it, he commanded DOT to move forward on this and start building them out post haste. At the same time, I was involved in 4 rail trail wars in Eastern Mass, and my battle-hardened veterans were melting away, and they said they wanted to give it up and go on to something less unfun. And I said, no, it's only because you don't know what's going on. So I hired an assistant, and we run a Google search every day of every newspaper about bikeway, bike path, rails to trails, greenway, this whole spectrum. And the thing comes out basically monthly. Since it's free, I can't, hold down to 30 days. But it's over 12,000 people now getting this thing, including people in 8 states, policymakers in 8 states. And Governor Baker was given it early on when it came out. And that's why we held the Golden Spike event 2018, because this is on the radar screen of the governor. That's why there's so much stuff going on here with the trails team and taking down silos in most agencies that have a role in this. But this is big. This is really big.
Have you heard any more about construction up to like Coburn Road in Berlin? I heard that might get done by 2025.
Yes, I believe it will. It'll start moving forward now. There's one remaining permit outstanding in Sudbury. It's the federal water quality permit that's overseen by the Corps of Engineers.
Yep.
And there's one agency still within the state government here that hasn't signed off on that.
Okay.
And then everything will get built. But then the state is worried. I've got leaks in several state agencies, and independently told me, Craig, we've got to get a study done like what was done in New York. We know that the whole western end is done. I've resurrected the thing now in Belchertown. And so the eastern section is done too. With the remaining lawsuit in Sudbury, it's all right out to the middle of Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be paved. Could be paved. You know, I'm perfectly fine with stone dust if that's what you want. It's you know, the Erie Canal Trail is more than half stone dust, and so if that's our model, that's fine. But
Yeah,
this is
I think that would certainly help some people.
we have to
feel better
show what
about
it's worth as a finished trail. We
Right.
have to show what it's worth for the state to step up to do all the
Yeah.
heavy lifting, big projects left to
Yep.
go.
Right. Excellent. Well, keep up the good work, and thank you for coming and updating us.
Yeah, thank you.
Where's the elder statesman of the Berlin Conscom?
He said he was going to be late, and then he just was a no-show.
You must have
He
taken a nap
probably-
or something.
Maybe he knew that guy was coming on board.
Oh, well,
right.
there's no one to back down from a fight.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
know,
He's gonna be
That's-
upset that he missed it.
I
Right.
know, I know.
He sent out a brief note this week saying, when is this rail trail going to be done?
Yeah.
Well,
It was a rhetorical question, but I think
I
it's
know.
on his mind.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
well, at the next Golden Spike event, we're going to have 10 Golden Spike Awards. 4 of them are for people that have passed away. One of them is Walter's good friend. What's his name on Cape Cod? Geez, I must have Alzheimer's. He was the former state rep when Walter was the
Oh,
became the
Bob
official
Durand?
wildlife. No, it's
Bob Durant's not,
I'll email Robin tonight before I go to bed.
okay.
And I'll sit, but we're gonna have a grand time. We're gonna be post-COVID, past neck down participation. We could be up to maybe 200 people at the conference. We'll have
Wow.
nationally known speakers there, walking and biking tours, a tour of the soon-to-be developed cannabis mill. Really, this will be big there, so.
Well, if we can get
Excellent.
the state to do up to Coburn Road, I think that gives us a lot of momentum to move forward. So
Yeah, well,
just to get them.
going to Coburn Road and then going all the way to where the bridges used to be, you know. And
Right.
by the way, Robin, I do have an award for National Grid because of their work in getting the green light on the section at Hardwick, Gilbertville.
Oh, good.
And if no one from the real estate department wants to come, you can come in their stead.
All right, good to know. I'll probably have to get permission.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Okay,
All right.
thanks. Nice to see you
All
all.
right, have a good night, everyone.
Doing your work.
Thank you, Craig.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, we still need to end our meeting, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Oh.
No, you guys don't get to go yet.
Crap, I was ready to hang up. All right, so can I make a motion to end the meeting?
First, and does anybody have anything else?
I know to propose spending some time on environmental justice at our next meeting, but I think we can put that off just a little bit longer. The
Thank
Sierra
you.
Club sent me some very nice resources. I'll share them in advance, and if we want to discuss it, I understand there are some grants that are even requiring that you address environmental justice as part of your grant request. So
Yeah.
might be something we want to get on board with, but I think we should put it off till early April.
Okay, excellent. And I guess, so Maddie, what, especially while I'm away, but even before then, if Alex does send any documents, if you
Yep, I
could
will
make
forward it
sure.
along to
Yeah.
everyone. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I'm
Yep.
sorry, guys, about that. You should have had that back
No
on
worries.
February 8th.
So, and then Kyle, you said you did go out there and they did redo the trail markings. And you guys are happy with them now?
Yes.
Okay. Holly, did you hear anything from Marcus about that as well?
No, he's super happy, and it's just so sad now that we're gonna have this issue with these people. It's just, I knew this was gonna happen. It's just really upsetting, but.
Well,
Mm.
we're still in a good position. So, and I don't personally intend on budging. This is where the trails are. And how
Right.
I believe that if, you know, at this point, moving forward, I hope that they will be more forthcoming and people who don't want to live next to that won't purchase, you know, so, I don't think it will be an ongoing problem.
You know, you just wonder how many people didn't realize that there were going to be public trails through there, you know, and are now really upset.
Yep,
Or
but that's not our fault. That's,
No, it's not.
So-
But the consequences could fall on us.
well, you know, him coming to the meeting tonight certainly helped us to be more aware of what's going on and help us make our informed decision.
Well, I'm
Right.
guessing he would have been here sooner if he had actually known about it, but.
Right.
You know, I just had a thought. Should there be something in that document that says, if the property is sold, you know, that would protect, okay, because you know, the situation up on Ball Hill Road, which is a little bit different, but they have the covenant
Yep.
and one person is not agreeing to it and is building, you know, has proposed to build something that does not fit with the covenant
Right.
because he's not the original.
Well, but
buyer.
all of that's why I want to get these documents recorded as soon as possible.
Right.
Because it will be part of the title search. It will be part, you know, if it moving forward, anybody should know
Right.
once it's all recorded.
They
So
should really be advertising. They should be, you know, advertising, or their ad
Yeah.
should include.
yeah, but not us to tell them how to market their property.
No.
Right, but even still, like Duncan's land is literally like they did clear a lot more than we thought they would up until Duncan's land, right?
Yeah.
So-
Oh, absolutely.
And Duncan, so Duncan
the-
could do whatever he wants, and we'll be like, oh, sorry, but it's literally the trail is like very close to Duncan's, but it's within the realm of on the Highland Ridge property, but Duncan could do whatever he wants on his, you know, he could build
Absolutely.
this huge thing and they have nothing to say about it.
Yep.
So I just think it's picking a fight with something that's just unfortunate.
Right. Yes. But his fight isn't with us. His fight is with Vinicasa. Or our fight isn't with him, you know.
Right. Yeah.
He signed an agreement under a certain expectation, and that was not with us. So we just need to continue on our path. But the prospect that someone may fight this makes me all that more reluctant to issue any occupancy permits before it's recorded, before the CR is recorded.
If I recall at our last meeting, we had suggested Alex lean on their state representatives to try to get some movement That
Yep.
didn't come up. I wonder if they've explored that avenue.
I don't know if they have, but I know we did. We got in touch with both our state rep and our state senator to see if they could even just get us a date. We're not looking to have it expedited or anything, just get us a date, get someone to let us know when to expect it to be done so that we could then make decisions based on a date. But never heard anything back.
Okay, so they haven't contacted you.
Nope. They
Oh,
have
okay. I wonder if they may have contacted Walter. I don't know, because I gave them your name and Walter's.
Right. So. All right.
So I think Robin moved to adjourn.
Yes, I made a motion to adjourn at 9:38 p.m.
Okay,
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Oh,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, you can do it, Holly.
bad feelings.
Okay. I'll take a vote. Robin,
Aye.
Kyle,
Aye.
Holly,
Aye.
AJ,
Aye.
Louise,
Aye.
me, I.